supplies I'll talk about in a few minutes. So we can help you with that. We have different flavors of workshops that we offer here. And it's discipline agnostic, so it isn't tied to any specific course. But again, we can work with you to kind of custom build a design workshop. We've had classes here for like one-offs, so one class or two classes. We've had week-long or project-long instances where they'll come in and do different projects. And we've also had multiple classes here for an entire semester. And again, those come from engineering, we've had physics, we've had communications and journalism, a mixture of academic disciplines here in the space. So I'll talk about some of the technology in the room, and I'll try and spin around so you can see the display as well. I'm currently projecting my image from it. So the room, we have a lot of whiteboards. We have a wall over here of whiteboard rails from Herman Miller, the Exclave system, and the wall kind of behind where the camera is also Exclave whiteboards. We have several of the whiteboard carts, and we have a few of the tack boards that you can put your work on. We also have the standard hanging whiteboard carts. Again, it gives you lots of options in the space. We have a mobile trackpad and keyboard, so the faculty or whoever's using the computer is not tied to any particular space in the room. So I'm free to move around the room and work. I've pulled this up somewhat close so you can see it. This is actually a Herman Miller medical cart, so something you might see in a doctor's office that would have medical supplies. We've repurposed it, and we have another one on the other side of the room. But this has all sorts of design thinking supplies. So think kind of arts and crafts, but a few other things in addition to it. So we have construction papers, foam sheets, foil sheets, glue, scissors, Sharpies, tape. We have Legos. We have Little Bits. Little Bits, if you're not familiar with them, they are basically little pieces you can build circuits and little devices with. So a very easy to use, very approachable, and regardless of what your academic background is, so you can use that for different design challenges. So we have two of these carts in here, so the classes can split up and grab what they need. And then let me see. Oh, in the corner, it might be hard to see from that angle. So we actually have storage lockers for projects, and they're large enough where you can take a whiteboard. So if you've been doing ideation on these portable whiteboards and you're done for the day, but you want to come back, you can take it and put it in here. You can lock it. It has a single-use lock similar to like a library or bus station. And when you come back, later that day or next week, you can open it up, grab your boards, and get back to work. You don't have to take the picture and then start from scratch again. So we, put those in to allow students to come back and kind of reconstitute their work. Let me see if I can switch cameras real quick to give you a view of the technology in the room. 1 second here. I'm going to mute myself. Okay. Okay, can everyone hear me? Okay.
We can hear you, Tim. Sounds good.
Hearing, okay, 1 second. Okay, can you guys still hear me? Trying to join with two different computers, so it might not work. We'll see.
It sounds okay, Tim. There's a little bit of an echo.
Okay.
But we're good. We can see you.
Okay, I have a little bit of echo, so I'm just trying to.
You can mute him on one of them.
Yeah. Either way, so for whatever reason, I can't get both going. But basically, what we have here is so what we have here, and it's kind of hard to see. So if you're familiar, and I can also put a link or a photo in here, we have part of the Herman Miller Exclave system. We have the media tile. So we have a 75-inch touch screen, which is right above the camera, and we have a podium computer put into the media tile box. So that has kind of the standard teaching software that faculty at Penn State are used to. It also has Immersive Solstice. So I know in the last space, Dave, Rick, and Lori mentioned having Immersive Solstice. This space also has it. We also have some multimedia applications. So the iMacs up over on the side of the room are also fully loaded with Adobe Creative Suite and some of the other Media Commons software. So if someone is doing some sort of design, we have the software in the space to do it. We've also, in terms of the room itself, increased lighting controls. We've added lighting controls so we can do different, settings. So lights over just the whiteboard areas, different dimming capabilities. So again, that was a big step up to the space. We've also put pocketed, we've done some trenching and put electric poke-throughs throughout the room. So we do have basically power underneath each one of these tables. Even though the tables can move, there are 6 power pockets, power poke-throughs in the floor, and we have some power around the perimeter as well. So do we have any questions? I'll take a look. The wide-angle camera used for this broadcast, yes. So that is called a Panacast, P-A-N-A-C-A-S-T. If you Google it, you'll find it. They run about $1,000. There's a few other. Have you had any issues with Immersive with the playback of videos? I don't know if Dave Test is still on with the tech. From my knowledge, we haven't. But the only issues I've heard of are when we have wireless issues in the room. The students aren't able to connect to the wireless and therefore get onto the network. But that seems to be corrected. That was a radius issue we had here on campus. But I can ask Dave and get you more information. And then, do you use a switcher or Solstice in order to project individual station students to material to all stations? Again, I'll have to check with Dave. I think they were using, trying to think the Crestron. They were using Crestron. I don't know the model, but they were using Crestron switching software, video software. Again, I can check on that. So, someone in Chaz mentioning issues with video playback. Okay. So it sounds like Alicia's had similar issues. Dave Test, who spoke earlier, he's kind of our Zoom expert, not Zoom, our immersive expert here on campus. So, I'm happy to pass on questions. At the end of the tours today, we'll have my email, Lori's email. So if you have email or questions that didn't get resolved, you guys can email us and we can pass them along to the right person if we don't have the answer readily available. Any other questions about the Willard space? what's the feedback on the low tables? That's a good question. So we have had some folks not want to use them because of like back issues. So we do provide, you know, these are height adjustable. So these can be brought to a different height. And then there are more standard chairs. There's some over in the corner I don't have out. So we do have some things that can accommodate people if they don't want to use the low seating and the low tables. Network interference issues with 7 solstices in one room. Again, that would probably, I'll check with Dave. I know that they're all hardwired. The devices themselves are hardwired or a network cable. They're not wireless, but I can pass that along. What microphone am I using for the broadcast? Yes, it is built into the camera. I have time for a few more questions before I hand it off. And Lori's joined me here. Okay, so if you think of any questions, please put them in the Q&A. And at this time, I'm going to hand it off to Ryan Wetzel. He is in the Immersive Experiences Lab. So Ryan, let me know when you're ready.
All right.
Okay, so Ryan's actually going to be my cameraman for this. My name's Dan Getz. I work for a group.
We can't hear you.
Oh.
Don't know why.
Oh, wait.
Can you hear us yet?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so should be good. Okay. So my name's Dan Getz. I work for a group on campus here called the Media Commons. So just to give you a little background before we show you the space here. So the Media Commons is an organization on campus that's focused on kind of promoting digital fluency with students. And really the goal of our service is to kind of put the, you know, all these media tools and stuff into the hands of people who don't normally get to use that kind of stuff. So we're always trying to build solutions that'll simplify things. You know, a great example of something that we came up with that we had a problem for was the One Button Studio. Some of you guys might be familiar with that or have heard it. That all came out of the Media Commons initiative. So the lab we're in today is called the Immersive Experiences Lab, and this lab, under that same kind of banner of enabling people who don't usually have access to certain technology, this lab is focused on giving people a chance to work with 360 video content as well as some minor VR content, but a heavier focus on 360 video. So, so we're going to take you through just a couple of things that we have in the room here. We kind of have it broken up into 3 main spaces. If you want to give them like a pan, I guess.
Here we go.
Okay. All right. So, so we'll start here. So the first spot we'll talk about here is kind of a more standard technology that goes into most of the Media Commons Lab. So even though this is VR and 360 focused, we did still want to be able to provide kind of our core services. So we have 6 editing computers here, and these are all loaded up with all the kind of standard Media Commons software. So any, you know, Final Cut, Adobe, the Adobe Suite, all that kind of stuff. And all that is ready to go. And with an emphasis in this, we have the editing tools to actually create the 360 videos and that kind of content. And this is kind of a standard staple in all of our Media Commons locations. We typically have some editing stations to start out. One just kind of minor thing about these desks are adjustable. So just to give you a, so that's kind of the only thing special about the editing computers, really, is that they get up. The students loved that when I came in here. Another thing that we have, do you want me to go?
Sure, let's
Okay,
just step
we'll go. Yeah, we'll go here. So, so aside from just kind of the regular editing, though, that we do here, we kind of had a problem of we didn't know how to create a group viewing experience. Sometimes the editing can be, you know, you're just on the computer by yourself, and you're seeing it kind of in this small screen. So we wanted to come up with a solution that would solve a problem for us of kind of what we're calling a group viewing experience. So connected to these editing computers, we have them hooked up to these displays here. So these are two curved displays here. And what we have right now is a 360 video loaded up on here that is actually running in Adobe Premiere. So the idea being that you can edit in Premiere, and then when you want to see what the video will actually look like in its kind of 360 form, you can come over here and we have a little wireless mouse. So let me get on the mouse just set here. The right spot, easy to find. All right, so the idea with this is that I can stand here with a couple group members and actually click and drag and move this video around, kind of as if I'm in a massive headset that's actually out here. So that was the idea. This was a pretty experimental thing that we were trying to do here. So we actually pretty recently just got this kind of fully operational. So we're kind of curious to see where it goes. But this was one of the solutions we came up for kind of VR and 360 video problems that typically come up. So next we'll move to, let's put this down, what we kind of call our viewing area, and we kind of affectionately call it the pinwheel here. So one of the big problems that we have with VR is there is a safety issue to that. We don't want people in headsets. One, there's a couple things about that. One, we don't want them just kind of walking around, bumping into each other, that kind of thing. So we needed an area, one that students could actually sit down and view any kind of 360 video content. The other part of that too, though, is there tends to be a little bit of self-consciousness when you're in the headset and say, people are outside of the headset watching you around. So what we came up with was this kind of pinwheel setup that we have here. So these are all separate desks, and they come, we bought these chairs kind of specifically for this. These are really, really heavy, bottom heavy chairs. And just to give you an idea, so the idea is if you have a headset on, you can sit in these booths and you'll have free range of motion. They have a dual pivot on them so that you can really kind of reach around if you have a headset on or anything like that. And the pinwheel aspect of it gives you a little sense of privacy when you're sitting in here. It's not totally private, but it helps out a little bit that you don't get self-conscious about people watching you in the headset. That does come up surprisingly a lot. The other thing that we are experimenting with this space is using this as kind of a group viewing area as well. Something we're developing in-house. One of the problems we've come across when we are trying to show people 360 video content is managing people in the headset. So getting them to be able to start the videos, stop the videos, and that kind of thing. So one of the things that we're working on with this is an app that will run on the Samsung Gear VR that would actually trigger all of the headsets that you have at once. So the idea is, say you had we have 7 different chairs. We have 7 people in here. We would have one control device that would essentially, everybody would put their headset on, and say you're an instructor and you want to have everybody viewing it at the same time, you can have your control device and just press it here and that'll play in everybody's headset all at once. We've used that a couple times this semester for kind of our intro to one of our workshops. It's just kind of an introduction to 360 video. And it's been pretty successful so far. So there's a couple, right now the app's kind of in beta, I guess you could say. Our goal is to eventually though, one, have that just so the playability is there, but also, and you can follow me over to the Immersive. So we have a Immersive Solstice display here. And eventually the idea of the app, so it's in a working stage, but we're still working out some bugs, is that not only could you trigger a video in the viewing area, you can actually also project that video up onto the screen here so that people that are not in a headset, which does happen, sometimes people, the headsets make them dizzy or whatever like that. So we do want to have options for people to do that. But the idea of this is, so that way everybody has, because even though we do have limited space, everybody can at least see what's going on the screen here. So like I said, that's in beta. That's pretty close to being pretty functional. So hopefully we'll have that pretty soon. The final little area we have here is really just a setup for 2 Oculus Rifts here. So just so we have kind of your higher end VR stuff content over here. So And right now we don't, for the media commons purposes, we don't have any specific programming around this yet. But the idea was, one, just to make sure that we had this kind of stuff, because you can't really open a VR lab without some high-end VR equipment. But two, just to see where it goes to. We're really interested. A lot of this technology is so new, we don't know where it's going to go. You know, cameras and all that kind of stuff are already coming into the consumer level and making it a lot easier to create this kind of content. So we figure it's only a matter of time till we're actually able to, you know, maybe offer some you know, VR making support or something like that. So, so that's kind of the three main sections of the lab that we have here.
Do you want to talk about the cameras that you loan out from here?
Yeah, sure. Let me grab one, actually. And just to give a little background on the way that the service works too. So typically the way we will do these kinds of projects is we will partner with a faculty member who has an interest in this. And then that can kind of scale up to whatever size they want. So sometimes it's just they want an introduction. They'll come into the lab, they'll test out some of the equipment and things like that. Other times it goes all the way up to a full scale. The students are going to take cameras out and actually produce some things. So another thing that we have in here is a pool of 360 cameras that we will loan out to students. So right now we're using the Nikon Key Mission 360. And just to give you an idea what this looks like. So it's just a little, I guess you could call it an action camera size 360 video. So students can come in here, they can get these cameras, and then when they need to edit or anything like that, we will help them do that on the computers here. So I'm staffed here Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, so students can make appointments with me outside of their scheduled class time and everything like that to make sure that they can get help with this kind of stuff, especially the 360 stuff. It's such a new technology that we're still kind of figuring out the kinks of it and everything like that. So this semester, I think we had like a dozen classes or so come through here. So they were all kind of varying in level of engagement. So some of them were just intros, some of them were full-scale projects. We've had a lot of faculty research projects for people taking cameras to, we have a couple out to other countries right now. One's in Amsterdam, one's going to Mexico now. So.
Right. And it's worth saying that this was the first semester for this service as well.
Yeah. So this was, we kind of, I guess, we were in a
soft launch before
launch before this, but we just really fully staffed this from like the second week of January, and it's really taken off as far as class projects and stuff like that. So pretty happy with the progress so far. So.
One question that we have here, Dan, is about which VR headsets are being used in here. I think you touched on that briefly, but if you want to outline what's going on in here.
Sure. So the main thing we're using right now is the Samsung Gear VR headset. Now we do have another type of headset in here, which is the ViewMaster. This is kind of more a Google Cardboard style thing, but the reason we went with the Gear VR is it increases the quality a little bit. Now the limitation to this is right now we have to buy phones, a full phone for this headset. So we actually just ordered the Oculus Go, so we're kind of curious to see how that goes. But the main headset we've been using is the Samsung Gear VR.
Okay, if there are any other questions, we're happy to ask them or follow up later in the session. We'll keep an eye on the Q&A. Otherwise, I think if we're all done here, we will turn it over to the next presenter. Who takes over next?
I believe that would be me, Stubbs in the Dreamery. So hang on one second, everybody. I am trying to do a telepresence through a telepresence, so we're having a little inception moment here. Okay, can everybody see me and hear me? So I just realized I'm not able to see the chat while I'm doing this. So if one of the presenters could let me know if they could see or hear my video stream.
We see and hear you, Stubbs.
All right, thank you very much, Ryan. So hello, everybody. My name is Chris Stubbs, and I am the manager of emerging technology and media for teaching and learning with technology. And so as I mentioned, we're doing kind of a telepresence within a telepresence. You are currently seeing a screenshot from a Beam telepresence robot, which if you can imagine sort of like Google Hangout or FaceTime on wheels, that's what we're going to be using to showcase our next space, which is the Dreamery. This is kind of TLT's home space. So this is located in our main office building. And the reason why, I'll give you a little background before I show you the space, but historically we have been kind of a traditional style office, right? A lot of cubicles, a lot of offices. But we do a lot with collaboration, with faculty, with partners across the university, with vendors, with alumni. And we didn't really have a good space to showcase the kinds of things that we were doing or to bring people together to discuss new technologies, new opportunities for innovating in higher education. And so we recently moved to a new space, and when we did that, our senior leadership said, hey, why don't we invest a little bit of money in creating a space that's really designed to highlight the kinds of things that we do and we value as an organization, which are finding ways to collaborate with people and finding ways to innovate around teaching and learning and technology. And so that is what the space that you're looking at is. And I'm going to drive us around a little bit to give you a sense of the space. This is the Dreamery. This is where we bring lots of people together. This is where we showcase a lot of the technology that we're working on. We do all sorts of things in this space, ranging from hosting undergraduate classes to hosting departmental meetings. Currently, what you're seeing in the background is an active learning meeting among some science educators that are here, taking some of their summer to improve their teaching and learning practices. So there's a little bit of everything available in this space. And so as I begin to drive us around, you'll notice right away there's some non-traditional furniture in this space. And so what you've heard from some of the other presenters earlier today is that we like to do a lot with trying out new furniture. This gives us a chance to try out a little bit of the stuff that we're thinking about or deploying in classrooms in our own space, so we can actually live with some of the furniture that we're taking advantage of. This is kind of our main presentation area. If I get a little closer, you might see some old school technology available there. You guys are also joining me in both surprising and delighting and terrifying some of the people that have never seen this robot before, so enjoy that experience. But this is kind of our main presentation area. So it has a large screen display that has the immersive Solstice technology that you heard about earlier. We use this for group meetings, team meetings. This also gets used for sort of some smaller, sometimes graduate level symposium classes that will come in here for kind of a different space to enjoy. So we use this for a variety of different things. It also serves as a pretty good telepresence area as well. So if you will join me, I will now take you over to what may appear at first to be an empty room. This is actually our VR bed. So you were just with Dan and Ryan over in the Immersive Experiences Lab, and they showed you an area where we've really been focusing heavily on 360-degree video. This is where we spend a lot of time using virtual reality, so kind of a heavier end virtual reality. So we use a technology called the Htc Vive in this particular space, and I'll give you a different kind of view of our room. So you can see here we have kind of a cubicle wall on the outside that creates a perimeter of space for people who use the Vive. Then we have a computer set up here where we control everything, and then you can see there's a large panel display mounted from the ceiling. This is where we've done a lot of our experimentation with how we can deploy virtual reality in a way that suits the needs of educational experiences. And so we use the Vive because a lot of the things that we are involved with involve physical movement. If you're familiar with the Vive, it is a virtual reality headset that actually lets you walk around in addition to tracking your head movements and your hand movements. And I think a lot of what we started out trying to answer was, how does this make sense in an educational context? You know, Dan talked in the IMEX part of the presentation about how can we make things work for groups of people, right, in a technology that is essentially fairly solitary. How can we create opportunities for people to teach using technologies like this? And so you can see one of the things that we were able to do with this space is create an environment where you can pivot that television. So as, say, an instructor or a technologist who's supporting a VR experience, you can stand in the VR bay with someone that's using it, see exactly the same thing that they're seeing on their headset, and provide instruction, guide them through experiences, help them troubleshoot, or you can pivot it back out to an audience area where large numbers of people can see what's going on inside the VR bay while they also see what's going on screen. So now you're creating far more scalable opportunities for people to enjoy VR experience, even though only one person can wear a headset at a time. This gets used extremely heavily, ranging from classroom experiences where people are just trying to expose their students to new technologies, to research opportunities where we might have faculty who want to study virtual reality, but they don't have a space on their own to deploy something like that. So we're able to provide that service for them. So as we turn around the room, you'll see there's quite a few people in here, so we may not get to look at everything in this space. But I'll turn back over and give you a sense of kind of the middle of the room. You can see we have a lot of flexible furniture that's really designed to be able to move around to provide you with whatever you wanted to do with the space. So whether or not you have sessions like this where people want to come together and sit around tables, it's great for small group discussions. We're changing around the furniture in this space pretty frequently, and so things are always changing in the Dreamery. We do a lot with vendor partnerships in this space. So, for example, we will work with, say, Dremel, for example. You might be able to see in the distance we have a rack of Dremel printers in the background. Ryan and his team actually negotiated a deal with Dremel, who had heard that we were doing more with 3D printing, and they wanted us to try out some of their printers and provide them with some feedback. And so those are the kinds of things that we will do with vendors from time to time to help partner, to evaluate new products, to help expose students, faculty, and staff to things that might not be ready to scale up in the university environment, but we can test out here. It also is designed to be a space where we can showcase some of the things that we are maybe doing from a developmental perspective that we think may advance at some point, but aren't necessarily ready for prime time. And so a lot of times what happens in a university environment is when you scale up, everything gets big, there's a whole level of support that goes into that. We wanted a place where we can do not quite that level of support. We can try things, figure out how you deploy things on university wireless, how you manage multiple accounts. We're doing these experiments. We wanted a place where we could do these experiments out in the open. All right, let's see if I can navigate around all these people. Hello. So there was a cord on the floor over there, which I'm not sure that the robot can necessarily go over. And I don't want to be the person that drops a robot in the middle of a group of people. Let's see if I can navigate these tight spaces here. Oh, I just hit someone's chair. I feel bad about that. You guys are observing some precision driving here at TLT. So now you can see a little bit more of our space. Over here, here's the Dreamery logo. This desk area over here is where we have some of our students. We'll talk to this guy for just a second. Good morning, how are you? Well, who knew what kind of exciting and uncensored things happen here in the Dreamery? It's always an adventure. So this is an area you can see one of our student employees sitting down over there. We have students that man this space during typical business hours, so that if a member of TLT staff is not available to help someone, if students just pop into the space, if faculty just pop into the space, we always have someone here who understands the technology. They understand the ways that people are using it. They can talk a little bit about use cases, and then help them get a hands-on experience. And that's one of the things that this space is really designed for. Is providing those kinds of experiences to people as much as possible. And so I don't think we're going to be able to get back to the back end because it's so crowded in the space. We have another VR area that takes advantage of the Oculus Rift. We have a bank of 3D printers I mentioned in our one-button studio. But I think you sort of get the idea of the kinds of things that are here. It's sort of a technology resting place, a collaborative resting place, a place where we bring a lot of people together to do things hands-on as much as possible. We're always experimenting with new technology. There's always something that's changing about this environment, and so it kind of embodies what we like to think of ourselves as a group. And so this is the physical embodiment of that kind of thing. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Zach Lonzinger, who's going to show you another one of the spaces in kind of TLT's homeland, the alley. So Zach, are you all ready to go?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chris. Can everybody hear me okay?
Loud and clear, Zach.
Okay, great. So to piggyback on what Chris's little presentation on the Dreamery, this is the TLT alley, as you can see behind me. This is adjourned to the Dreamery, which is just right next door here. So the Dreamery is connected right through this little hallway here. And in that room is it's a meeting space called 22E. So in there we have we have a guitar pick style shaped table so people can meet around there. I would take you in there right now, but there's a meeting going on in there. But we also have two, I believe, 55-inch displays mounted on the wall that are also powered by the Immersive Solstice app. And we also have a bunch of hanging whiteboards on the wall. You can kind of see one in the corner right there. But we have about probably 10 to 15 of those all hanging on both sides of the wall. So you can actually stack 3 on top of each other. So a lot of collaborative brainstorming, whiteboarding sessions happen in that room. As Chris has mentioned, historically, TLT has been a cubicle type focus office, but this space is more open. So this is one of our collaborative working spaces. As you can see, we have a mix of different styles of furniture. We have tall tables back here. We have little tables down here. And this space is open to faculty, staff, students. Everybody can come in here and work. So a table like this, anybody can come and hook up their computer to. We can do collaborative group projects or staff meetings or faculty meetings or faculty and staff meetings in there. So everything is collaborative and open. So we have 4 spaces right here too with curved displays. So faculty can come in, oh, my arm's getting tired. So either faculty or staff can come and work in the open area here. We have a cool, comfy display section here with pillows and storage. So if a student or someone comes in here from a different office, they can kind of store some of their stuff right in there. And back here in the corner on the other side of the room, we have 2 small focus rooms, 22A and 22B. So these rooms are open for people to schedule. They can have smaller meetings. One is open right now and one is not. And on this side, we have another little small collaborative space. And we have whiteboard kind of scattered all through the room. So with this one, we can kind of fold and open, and you kind of make your own kind of space however you want that to work here. So as Chris said, we have a lot of different flexible styles of furniture. In the middle here, we have kind of like a separated 4-seater couch area. Another collaborative small work area here. And this space will, the layout will change on a day-to-day basis. So people come in here, they'll rearrange all the furniture to kind of suit whatever type of meeting they have here. It's usually always filled up, so this is kind of rare that there's no one here today. But this is the TLT alley. And on that note, I think I will pass it off to, I think, Crystal and Jenay is next.
Am I talking to all 50 people? Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Jenay Robert. I'm one of the researchers here at TLT in our faculty programs team. And so I have one of the funnest jobs in all the world, which is that I get to not only enjoy using these spaces, but also research all of the amazing ways that faculty use these spaces. So I'm here with Crystal Ramsay, and she'll introduce herself in a minute. But one of the things that we really emphasize in these spaces is that they're designed so that faculty can come in with mindset when they're teaching. And what we mean by that is that faculty can come in and change the way that they're teaching on a dime. They're preparing students for jobs that don't even exist yet, jobs that might exist in 10, 15 years, right? And so how do you even wrap your head around preparing something for somebody that doesn't even exist? We want to prepare students with skills that are fluency in an agile world, right? So that's good. These are kind of the phrases that we throw around here at TLT. So when you look around, you see things that are constantly in flux and in motion. So Crystal will kind of walk you through some of the specific ways that the room supports that. But as she walks you around this space, what I want you to kind of constantly keep in mind is that if I'm an instructor walking into a space and I'm thinking about constantly reacting to changing needs with students, constantly reacting to changing my pedagogy on a dime, how does this space facilitate that constant flux? And how does this space also encourage that? How does this space make me walk in and feel inspired as an instructor to change? So Crystal will go through some of the specific details in the room, and then at the end, I'm going to come right back around and talk about how we engage in research around the, not just this specific space, but around those concepts of agility in teaching and also agility in our research methodology. So we're not just engaging in traditional space research now, we have very different spaces, and so we have to use very different methods. So let me hand this off to Crystal.
Hi everyone, welcome to the Blue Box. This classroom is one of our experimental classrooms here at Penn State, and it sits in a microbiology building. And other than this classroom space, this building is primarily wet labs. And so prior to its renovation a couple years ago, it seated nearly 100 people. Literally, I think it was like 99, and then there were a few chairs in the back. So you can imagine how tightly sort of connected they were and compressed to one another, and they all faced a particular direction, etc. Your typical classroom space, typical traditional classroom space. Now, the capacity of our Blue Box classroom seats 44 people. As you can see, there's a lot of room. And as seems to be the theme with our tour today, this room is occupied as well. There is an ethics sort of workshop for faculty going on here. And fortunately, they're out to lunch. So you're seeing a lot of their stuff. But my job for this part of the tour is to tell you a little bit about what's in this space in terms of its affordances. So let's see, let's start with the floor. We have steel case thread in the floor. So our director, Kyle Bowen, talks about Maslow's hierarchy, and he actually puts Wi-Fi and power at like ahead of survival needs on Maslow's hierarchy. So the floor is threaded. There are just some sort of pucks down here on the floor, but they're all over the floor. So no matter the configuration of the space, students can plug in one of these power towers, drag it over to where they're sitting, and they have access to power. That room is also, the entire perimeter is lined with power as well. All of the furniture is mobile. It's all on wheels, except for we have a handful of wooden stools. They're not very heavy and easy to move anyway. But other than that, everything's on wheels. Our idea is that rather than have a floor that's tiered to guarantee sight lines, we have tiering with the furniture. So if we want to direct student attention that way, we can put higher tables and chairs over here. If we want to direct attention this way, there are higher tables in the back. The tables are all height adjustable. They go up and down. These do not. The high tables that we have kind of around the perimeter, you might be able to see over here, they go up and down. The round tables go up and down. And we have chairs that do as well. We also have, and Jenay, if you don't mind, there's also soft seating here. So not only is the furniture mobile, there's a variety of it. And we've gotten a variety of styles. And we've gotten feedback from students that they really like those options. The reports and the feedback that we have on all the furniture in here is actually quite good. We also have small tables of a variety of sizes with wooden tops, and they can be used either as kind of workspaces for students, in this case, kind of right beside the soft seating, or they can be used as stools for faculty to just kind of pull over next to a table and work with the group. So everything in here moves. We have no default configuration in this space. In fact, we've worked actively with the faculty through our research team to try to figure out what are configurations that help faculty and students engage in the ways that they need to. And we've had them trying to help us figure out what those possibilities are. So this is how we walked into it today, and that's fine. And so the next user can come in and move it around however they like. Probably the thing that gets the most thumbs up from students and faculty alike are all the writable surfaces. So all four main walls are writable. The one over here and the one over there are share walls. They are floor to ceiling writable surfaces. They're also magnetic. So the little, I don't know if you can see from here, but there are a bunch of little square metal things on the walls, and those are magnet clips so that faculty and students can do poster sessions in here because the walls are not only writable, but they're also magnetic. The walls there and back here around this display are floor-to-ceiling whiteboard paint. And so we have been in this space. We can see over there, the group that's here is writing quite high on the walls over there. We've been in here during finals week and literally seen floor-to-ceiling, all four walls, formulas. Again, this is a science building primarily. In addition to the walls being writable, there are 4 mobile whiteboards here that we've watched faculty use kind of at the front to supplement what they're doing and what they're displaying in ways they want to interact with students. We also have one faculty member, as an example, who moved all the furniture out of the way. I don't think I mentioned these tables are all nestable, and so they can be pushed aside. And this particular faculty member did that, created a big open space in the middle, pulled the mobile whiteboards to the center, and then students could be engaging with one another, standing on either side of any of them. And it turns out our faculty report really loving not only making student work visible, but making it vertical. And I'm sure lots of you know that already, but this room really offers a lot of that kind of surface for writing and sharing. The ceiling is a unistrut ceiling so that we can add things as we get feedback that we'd like to, or if there are things that we'd like to equip the room with that we need to kind of add at the last minute without a major renovation. So we have added, Jenay will talk about some of our research in this space that's going to require some audio capture. We're able to easily add microphones. We have added, since it first opened up, we've added another wide-angle camera, which really enhances the experience of speakers who are brought in from the outside. So the students obviously can see a speaker from a distance on this giant display behind me, but if you're the speaker, you're likely only seeing the person kind of on the main computer. But with the camera, they can pan most of the room and see where groups are and where students raise hands and so forth. So the display wall back here is a planar display. I don't know its full dimensions. It is a 2x4 display wall, meaning each of those is essentially a separate display. You can see the lines that divide them up, roughly 42 inches apiece. When they're together, the whole thing is touch-enabled, and it actually allows faculty to do 2 things. It's linked to a computer that is in a locked box over there. And that is just like any podium computer that you would see in any of our technology classrooms on campus. So they're very accustomed to how to bring up a display that looks like this. Additionally, this is equipped with Solstice, Immersive Solstice technology as well. So not only can the faculty be displaying something if they want from the regular computer interface, they can also share and invite students to share to this large display. And as you can imagine, when there are visuals in particular that students are sent out to find or to share, to bring whatever, this enormous display really allows for multiple of those to be shown and students can really see. I think, so we do have one of the things that we learned from the faculty is that we need a place to put their stuff. Those of you that have Solstice may have encountered this in your spaces already. Without a podium per se where this technology lives, people still need a place to put their things. So we're trying out some different sort of faculty workstations or podium stations. This is the latest one that we're using. This space is, we opened it a couple years ago. All of our feedback, by and large, has been excellent. The faculty want to continue to work here. Those who say, maybe I don't need the blue box, they still want the flexibility. So they still want to be in other places where there's so much flexibility. They don't all need the technology, so we find them another similar space on campus that isn't quite as big. Feedback from students has been excellent as well. And we're excited to be opening up a second experimental classroom space, hopefully over the next year, where we can continue to do research about what is it about the things in the room that support and add value to teaching and learning. Which of those things should we proliferate across campus? Which should be perhaps sort of constrained to particular kinds of experience spaces. And so Jenay's going to talk with you a little bit about the research that we've been doing to better understand teaching and learning experiences here in the blue box.
There's one question you might want to answer before, which Alicia asked if we've published furniture placement research, specifically furniture placement research. Before I jump on, maybe you can address that.
Thank you for asking that question, actually. So I don't think we ever thought of it as furniture placement research, but what I will say is this, and maybe I can spare Jenay this part of what she was going to share. So one of the earliest kinds of research that we did was research with the faculty to understand their teaching experiences here and what happens in the blue box. And one of the things that we did is we created a configuration of this space in Google Drawings, and then we copied links. But when I say that, I mean it's the perimeter of the space, and then we had our media designer create representations of every piece of furniture that you see here. And so what we did is we sent the faculty who were teaching here a link to that Google Drawing interface and asked them, we gave them a prompt, and we said, create a configuration of this space that has allowed you to do something either that you simply couldn't do in the previous space where you taught the course, or that is made easier by being in this space. And so what they essentially did is they would drag and drop the furniture into the configuration that satisfied that prompt, and then they wrote about the difference that it made. And so, for example, that's how we learned about the faculty member who said she moved everything. She was teaching a nutrition counseling course, and she moved everything out of the way, dragged the whiteboards over, and it allowed the students to really engage around whatever she was having them do activity-wise. And so we have probably 14 or 15 different configurations of the space that faculty argue adds value, and we kind of categorized those. Lots of them look like small groups, for example. So we've taken those faculty-generated configurations and uploaded them to a website where future people coming in can go and see, oh, if I want to make small groups, it could look like this. Oh, if I want to do a debate, it could look like this. So it gives future faculty and their teaching colleagues ideas about how they might configure the space. We have published on that, and we'll try to provide you a link to that. I'll try to do that while Jenay is sharing more about our research. It was in the 2017 issue, December issue of Journal of Learning Spaces. That's where we published that. So thank you for your question. Jenay?
Okay, so we'll
relay handoff.
Handoff here. Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback off of what Crystal was talking about, that really goes along with that idea of agility in teaching, right? So if we try to recommend to our faculty, here are like the 5 ideal configurations of furniture in this space, that would really sort of counter this agility mindset that we want our faculty to embody. We really want our faculty to feel free to react to what's happening in the moment with their students, or what's happening on any given day in the classroom, and really think about that freedom of, it's sort of that, that old saying, teach someone to fish rather than giving them a fish, right? So we want them to have that creativity to think about, how do I move the furniture around at any moment to meet the needs of my students and my pedagogy, and I'm that content expert and I'm that pedagogy expert in that moment. And so I think that this space really supports that. And that's that in that research, you really get a chance to see how faculty were able to totally step out of the box, because this room is crazy, and then sharing that across was also really valuable for them to say, wow, I never thought of that, and so that community sort of support from each other was really interesting as well. So I guess Crystal spared me going over one of the projects I wanted to talk about. I also wanted to talk about some of the upcoming really interesting things we have going on in this room. So we are doing our own version, if some of you are familiar with the DART project, so looking at audio in classrooms. This is an exciting project for us because we get to work in collaboration with our data scientists. At TLT, we have a team of data scientists who do work with machine learning, and so what we can do is take large data sets of audio in this room, and so I don't know if, probably the camera won't be able to capture this, but we have microphones kind of, I don't know, what do you think? So can it sort of, there's little microphones like here where I'm pointing. Yeah, it catches it. So we have these small microphones. We have six total in the room. And so we're able to capture different sound in the room and not just the type of sound that's happening. So are multiple people speaking, is one person speaking, but we're also able to capture where in the room roughly that sound is happening. And so our research team, in collaboration with our data scientists, are in the process of teaching a computer to start to recognize patterns. So what's going on in the class at any given time. And then we're really excited to see the future of that work. Are we going to teach the computer to try to recognize use patterns over time? And then, so the next thing we're looking at is, let's see, Crystal's trying to write me a note and it's distracting me, so I'm looking weird. Okay, so we have 3 minutes, great. So the next thing is, the next project I wanted to talk about was, okay, so video. So this is the interesting audio in the room, and then the video that they're capturing in the room. So traditional video capture in education space was basically, we have students sitting in a group and we would point 3 cameras at them, and it was really creepy and awkward. And I mean, look, if there's people doing this right now, I'm sorry, I don't mean it's like bad that you're doing this. This is great. This is a traditional way of doing it, right? But students often feel pretty awkward about this. But can you follow me, please, with this? Right now, we have, so this camera that we can set up in the room the whole time, it's a 360 video camera, and it's capturing everything that's happening in the room the whole time we're here. And typically, it's so small and kind of hard to notice that students aren't even paying attention. So I've been capturing video all semester in this space, and students typically are just walking by it. They don't even really notice after about the first few minutes because it's really small and it's not getting in the way of what they're doing, and it's not pointing at them, right? So there's a couple of exciting things about the 360 video. First, it's small, it's hard to notice that it's there. The second thing is I'm not losing anything that's happening. So we see these amazing whiteboards being used all over the room. I'm not missing if students are walking from one whiteboard to another, if they're sitting down in a small group, if they're getting up to talk in front of the big class. I get to see all those different types of interactions that are happening. So we're really excited about applications of this in terms of looking at different group dynamics, group interaction, and how students are engaging in different ways in this interesting space. So I think I have just a couple of minutes. 1 minute. Is there a question that I can address or anything, or should we just pass it over to the next person?
I think we're fine to pass it along. Well, let's just see if there are any questions.
Yeah. No questions? Any questions?
Okay.
All right, let's pass it over. So Lori is in Sparks building, so we're going to pass it over to Lori. Thank you, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Tim and Lori are here in Sparks. Hopefully you can see us all right. And Crystal and Jenay, there actually was a question about student privacy. So you guys, if you can follow up with Jeff about Sparks room 11. Again, you're seeing us in this wide angle shot with another Panacast camera. So this space has been open in this configuration since this past fall of 2017. So we'll highlight a few things of things in this room and then kind of wrap the whole session up. So Zach, I think in the TLT alley mentioned a guitar pick shaped table. So kind of the large table in front of us. This is another large, guitar pick shaped table. This is from Herman Miller.
Yes, and so everything in the room is from Herman Miller. As far as furniture, the X-Plate whiteboards on the walls, the chairs. There's only a couple things that we had to add just to provide the faculty a height adjustable lectern, just so that they have a place to put their things. This does seat 24 students. It's a little tight, but we're able to meet the capacity of 24 people in the space.
So in the design of the room, we actually worked with some liberal arts faculty who were using a space similar to this for a debate course, and they were trying to videotape the debate, and every time they'd have a class, they'd have to set up multiple cameras, a soundboard. They'd have someone on staff running cameras for each class. So this was kind of an attempt to lower the bar, not only for that class in terms of use, but other classes as well. So as you can see, I'm talking to you with this wide angle, and you can basically see the entire space. I think you can. You can see at least all the students seated the way it's set up right now. There's also another Panacast camera directly above Lori's head on that wall. And then there's one above the TV. So you can switch cameras midstream in Zoom. If you're familiar with Zoom, you can switch your inputs. So depending on the debate or the reason you're using the room, you can configure the camera and the microphone in the camera to adjust to how you want to use the room. So you can toggle between the three. You don't need to set up, you don't have to have an extra staff member come in for lights and sound just for your online debate class. So that also lends itself to some blended learning options. So if you have 24 students here and 24 students online, maybe switch days. We're hoping to get some blended classes come through here. And as I mentioned in the Willard Design Lab, and I think I was unable to show you because my other laptop wasn't working, but this is basically the same design in terms of the media tile, Herman Exclave with the large display, and the computer that is running, Zoom, and it also has the teaching software is in that white box down below the TV, if you can see that. So this is basically the same system that was on the wall in the Willard space. I just didn't have the ability to kind of spin it around so you could see it. We have great lighting, daylight. We've had lighting adjustments put in when we renovated the space, along with the new HVAC split system. Because the old system was actually kind of loud, and thinking about distance learning or blended learning, if you had this loud cooling unit kind of masking the sound in the room, that would cause some issues with any sort of distance learning or blended learning, or someone coming in from a distance. So that is why we had a new HVAC unit put in during the renovation. Is there anything else with the room?
Just the courses that are not
being
used this semester and the research that we're doing with that.
So as Lori was saying, this class or this space has been primarily used by liberal arts, because sports building is where liberal arts is housed here at University Park, or at least one of the buildings. So we've had a lot of liberal arts, civic and rhetoric life courses. We've had some other classes as well, but that's been the bulk of use here so far. And one of the faculty members in that department is doing a study. So she's comparing her classes, how she teaches in this space, or I don't know the details of student outcomes or engagement, but basically comparing teaching in this space versus teaching in like a more standard, rows and seats type of classroom. She did that in the fall. We haven't seen that, the published report, but she did that. She collected data through the fall and perhaps even this spring. So there's also some research, albeit not from TLT researchers in this space. We're working with faculty that are using this space as well for their own research.
So that really concludes our tour for today. If we have any other questions, please add them to the Q&A. We thank you for joining us at Penn State University, and I'm pretty sure Julie will be posting the tour if you have others that you want to share it with. Tim and I contacts, I'm Lori McCracken, and he's Tim Linden, and our email addresses are shown and posted in the window at this time.
So with that, does anyone have, let me just open up the chat. So thank you, Dave. Thank you for all of you for taking time to visit our spaces, and hope it was worthwhile. If you have any questions.
The other option you have, please reach out to us. If you're nearby, we would be happy to show you the spaces in person. If you're near campus and would like to come and join us for a one-on-one tour, we'd appreciate that.
So we'll mute our mics for now. We'll hang out for a couple of minutes. If you have any questions, throw them in the Q&A. Thank you. Have a great day.